Hey Taeyang, you smiled happily as you sat next to him, but you just got a grim glance in return. You had forgotten about what had happened to him the other day. I'm sorry, you uttered, finally breaking the minute of silence between you both. Taeyang finally looked up. I'm sorry, it's my fault, not yours. Tae sighed, rubbing his forehead stressfully. I'm just angry that you got out of it and she couldn't. Tae glanced at you. You could see the pain in his eyes. I almost didn't. You showed him your bandage on your neck from where Jungkook had put the knife. I knew he wouldn't do it. Tae rolled his eyes sadly. Why? You said, surprised almost. You thought he was? Tae uttered, shocked. I thought I was going to die. He didn't have a reason not to kill me. You shrugged, confused. Tae snickered slightly. You are both as blind as each other. Tae rolled his eyes while smiling. Dude, can you wrap my hands for me? Jungkook jogged over, still in his suit. Sorry man, I don't know how to wrap hands. I got coached to do mine. Tae admitted, kind of embarrassed. I'll do it. You shrugged. You know how to wrap hands? Jungkook seemed shocked. Yeah, my brothers used to make me wrap their hands before sparring. Although I never sparred or did any serious training myself, it was forbidden. You rambled as you grabbed the white boxing wraps. You slowly wrapped his hands before Ice walked in. Jungkook's whole mood immediately changed from relaxed to furious in seconds after seeing Ice. I'm sorry, it wasn't my place to step in. I just didn't want you going soft on me. Ice apologized to Jungkook immediately. He actually looked like he meant it. You are forgiven, but if you ever do anything like that again, you will be killed. Do you understand? Jungkook's tone got deeper with his last few words. Yes, Ice nodded obediently. He turned around and walked back, without even defending himself. He is lucky that he is like a brother to me. Jungkook rolled his eyes, fed up with Ice. Why is he called Ice? You asked curiously, trying to finish off wrapping his hands. Why do you think? He has no emotion and no compassion, his heart as cold as ice. Jungkook scoffed while saying it, thinking it was cheesy. He obviously didn't believe it from his reaction. He's loved three girls. Already they all broke his stone cold heart. He's not cold, he's soft. Jungkook snarled, clenching his fist while you stared down at the clenched hand that you was trying to wrap. You ran your fingers along Jungkook's knuckles. Jungkook knuckles immediately catching Jungkook's attention. Jungkook's hand opened slightly, but you opened the rest, severing your touch. Jungkook's breathing suddenly became a little bit heavier than before. Be careful, you was almost pleading with him. He stared down at your lips. Careful, got it. He uttered back softly. You both stared at each other for a moment as your hand held his. You really didn't want him to do this, but you couldn't tell him to stop. Jungkook's bodyguard didn't seem fazed, so why should you be? Whom you kidding? You are going to always worry about him. Give me your jacket, you mumbled as he turned around, sliding his tux jacket off. He took his tie and shirt off to give him more movement and flow. You'll never get over how perfectly sculpted his body is. You felt your heart pounded as he stepped into the ring in just boxing shorts and shoes, his hand wrapped after getting changed. I wouldn't worry, Tae admitted while having the most unimpressed look on his face. Why, you played with hands nervously. He is the Mafia King for a reason, you'll see. Tae left you hanging while walking over to the shooting section. Jungkook had forgot his mouth guard. You pulled it out of the case. While Jungkook came back to you, he opened his mouth and you slipped it into his mouth. He adjusted it before looking at you. He saw your hands and grabbed them. Don't worry about me, Jungkook struggled to say with his mouth guard in. Your heart pounded as he held your hands. You didn't want to watch him get hurt. This was really rough sparring. They treated each other as if they were the enemy. It's effective but also dangerous. Jungkook slipped away further into the ring. A few people from the mafia gathered round to watch, including the bitches from earlier. Go Jungkook, she cheered. If this bitch doesn't shut up, you'll throw another knife at her and not miss this time. The kid Jungkook was fighting against looked really hyper. The kid swung and Jungkook dodged. This repeated for a while. Jungkook kept lightly hitting the kid, making him angry. The kid was getting very frustrated and his swing became a little more aggressive. You started to worry when Jungkook barely escaped a hard right hook. You wasn't able to watch this anymore. You hopped down from the side of the ring, walking out into the hallway and strolled down the vacant corridors. You went into an empty room which seems to be a resting area for the trainers. You played with your hands while sitting on the ground of the room. A couple of minutes had passed and you was curious about how Jungkook was doing. You hesitantly decided to go back in. You watched from a distance as Jungkook finally swung at the kid, knocking him out. You let out a breath of relief. You didn't see much of the match, but you could see that Jungkook was confused while looking around the room. You slowly walked back up to the ring. You saw blood dripping from his mouth and he still had his mouth guard in. Here, Jungkook. The girl handed him water. Thanks. Jungkook smiled at her as he took the water bottle. She shrieked, walking over to her friends with a big grin on her face. Jungkook gave you an unimpressed look as he clenched his jaw and walking away from you. Is he angry at you? Jungkook, you shouted. Jungkook, you said again as you grabbed his wrist to stop him from walking away. What? He snapped, taking his mouth guard out. Why are you angry at me? You asked him with a confused expression on your face. He rolled his eyes, annoyed, before attempting to storm off once again. Jungkook, you hissed at him. You didn't even stay for a minute and you're calling me your fiancé? Jungkook snarled at you. It's not my fault. I didn't want to watch you get hurt. You snapped at him. Wyan, I'm angry, okay? Jungkook was shaking from the anger. Why I didn't do anything? You said frustratedly. Just leave me alone, Jungkook muttered to you, trying to walk away. You refused to stop following him just because he was angry. Go away, Jungkook roared, causing you to stumble back a few steps. As he took a couple forward, you had your arm stretched out to keep distance between you both. Flashbacks of your father screaming had come flooding back. You was afraid of Jungkook. Not intimidated, not shy, not nervous, but only afraid. You are convinced that if I handed him a knife, he would kill you right now. You quickly regained your steps before walking out. You were shaking, but not from Jungkook yelling at you, rather from the remind of your father. You felt like he was in front of you instead of Jungkook. Ice grabbed your arm while you was walking down the hall. You saw him? The devil. Ice smiled at your pale face. He's not the devil, and stop saying that, it's weird. You mumbled as you ripped your arm from his grip and continued walking. You entered the same empty room that you was in while Jungkook was fighting. You leaned against the wall. You didn't feel like crying or doing anything. You just wanted to go home, wherever that was. You asked a member of the mafia who walking by if you could borrow their phone. You called Jungkook's bodyguard Terry because it was the first contact on this girl's phone, surprisingly. Terry drove you back to Jungkook's mansion. You locked your room door and sat in your bed watching movies for the rest of the day. It had turned 12 a.m. and Jungkook still wasn't home. He was probably still mad. You are not angry at him. You don't think you ever was. You think you was shocked and afraid of him for a moment. Your eyes were struggling to stay open as you watched the movie. You was woken up by a knock on your door before you paused the film and sat in your bed. YN, Jungkook muttered, sounding like he was almost scared to say your name. You didn't reply. Can you open the door? He asked. His tone was softer than usual. You slowly wandered over to the door. You assumed he was able to tell you had come over due to your light footsteps approaching the door. Are you still angry? You questioned him, probably sounding tired. No, I'm not, he mumbled quietly. You knew that his explosive anger was due to his grief and adrenaline, but it wasn't acceptable. You unlocked the door before quickly walking back over to your bed. Jungkook entered the room and all you could hear was the creaking of the door since the entire house was silent. Jungkook came into your room and shut the door behind him. Hey, Jungkook practically whispered, more than likely because of how quiet it was. Hi, you mumbled, standing next to your bed. You only realized now that you was wearing his hoodie. I'm sorry, he ran his hand through his hair stressfully, taking a seat on your bed. It's fine, you grumbled, restless. Jungkook looked at you confused. Are you okay? He asked, worriedly glancing at your pillow to look for sign of tears. Yeah, you nodded. He stared at you for a moment before breaking the silence. I thought you were going to give me a lecture on how badly I treated you back there. He rubbed the back of his neck. No, I have already accepted that I can't teach you how to be a good man. You'll have to do that on your own, you stated with a stubborn tone. I was emotional, I guess you could put it, Jungkook admitted, opening up slightly. It's okay as long as it doesn't happen again, and I'm sorry for not supporting you. You glanced at him. I got you an apology gift. He stared at you with his innocent eyes. I had been planning this for a few days now, so it's not just because we fought, Jungkook admitted before taking a rectangular box out of his pocket. Remember, you said you didn't trust me around other women? Jungkook mumbled softly. You nodded, confused at what was happening. Here, he handed you a box while also pulling out another box from his pocket. Inside there was a bracelet that had a heart in the center of it, connecting one side of the bracelet to the other side. The heart had a little keyhole in the of it. Jungkook took the bracelet out and clicked it together on your wrist. The only way to unlock it is with this key, he explained, holding your wrist gently. He grinned at your flushed face. He opened the box and pulled out a chain that was exactly like the bracelet, just in chain form. Wow, you gasped, taking the chain out of his hand. You put the chain around his neck and clipped it together. So, I'm assuming you keep the key. You grinned happily at the bracelet. Yep, he nodded. You could tell that he was happy that you like it. Not the Jungkook Jeon settling for a woman, he said cheekily. You rolled your eyes in defeat with a small smile on your face. You watched a grin spread across his face. Do you want to watch something? You asked him as you lay on your bed. Yeah, he climbed onto the bed. He groaned as he let whole body relax. You should get out of your suit, you suggested. It probably would be comfier. Okay, give me a second. He jumped off the bed. He came back in wearing shorts and a baggy shirt. You realized that for the first time in years you was happy laying beside Jungkook, someone you knew who would protect you from anything including himself. The truth was that he made you happy and that terrified you. Jungkook was staring at the TV but you couldn't watch the movie. He suddenly turned to you and began despairing the movie piece by piece. You both talked throughout the movie, not even paying attention to it anymore. So, who's the worst person you have slept with? You asked him curiously as you rested your chin on your hand for support while smiling at him. I don't know. Jungkook shrugged as he tried not to smirk. How many girls have you slept with? You raised an eyebrow at him with a smirk. I don't know that answer either. He couldn't contain his smile. Give me a rough estimate. You questioned him, not being too forceful. His smirk only grew at your question. He mumbled something but made sure you didn't hear. You did that on purpose. You smirked while playfully showing him. Okay, he replied, sticking his arms up for defense. Over 100 different girls. He finally spat out. Your jaw instantly dropped at his words 100. Your eyes widened. And you weren't in love with any of them. You stared at him confused. None. He made a face as if he didn't care. No wonder why you have never been hugged. You rolled your eyes at him with a smile. Shut up, at least I'm not a virgin. Jungkook mumbled teasingly with a slight smile. Leave me alone, you sneered while glaring at him. I'm just saying, what are you, 23? He mumbled while licking his lips. Yeah, almost 23. You grumbled, folding your arms like a child. I was 13 when I lost mine, he muttered to you. 13? That's so young. You gasped at him. He chuckled lightly. I know, he shook his head as his smile faded. I couldn't risk it. My father probably would have killed me. I couldn't prove him right. Your happiness fading slowly from your face as you remember all the names your father would call you. I guess that's not your fault then. He gave you a vulnerable glance. So tell me, why so young? You questioned, wanting to know more about him. My father believed that losing your virginity made you become a man in some sort of F-up sense. So as soon as I was old enough, he threw me in a room, and that was that. He spoke cautiously, careful not to reveal too much. That must have been awful. You shook your head at the thoughts. No, I loved it. He chuckled at the memory. But I wish I had saved for someone I really care about. His brown eyes stared intensely at you as he finished his sentence. Well, it's not that big of deal. Only takes seconds to lose, right? You replied, trying to make him feel better. No, it's a big deal, but I didn't know that at that time. I still don't. You could see he regretted saying the last part. It's something you read about only in book. You know the connection, the bond. Until it's not. He spoke honestly as he stared at the blankets on the bed, probably lost in thoughts. are right. You agreed watching his subtle actions. I like you the most, out of all the people I have met. You are known as Heartless Mafia King, but you didn't treat me like that. You treated me like I'm your queen. You declared suddenly. He couldn't help but smile at your words.